All right, so it's been a couple days since I gave myself a haircut, so please excuse me if I look a little rough right now. And today's video is gonna be off the top of the like off. I can't even talk. I can never talk. When I start these videos, I swear I can never talk. All right, so I'm gonna try to start this video again. I haven't made a video in 2 months, so I'm kind of off my game. So please forgive me. Today's video is gonna be talking about turning 29. I turned 29 a couple days ago. And I made a video like this when I turned 25, right? Where I pretty much took a look at like back at my early 20s or like the first half of my 20s. And I was like, oh, I'm 25 now. Here's what I learned from like 20 to 25. And now I'm 29, which is kind of crazy. The fact that 4 years has passed since I made that video. I feel like I've learned a lot more about myself. I'm so much more settled. I feel like my frontal lobe is a little bit more developed than what it was before. But here are some things that I think younger people, and when I say younger people now, I know I'm still young, but I'm talking about if you're younger than me, if you're like 25, you're 21, you're 17, you're 19, whatever, you're in your teens or early 20s, here's some things that I just kind of learned throughout my 20s that I think I did well. And then there's some other things that I learned and came across where I didn't do as well with those things. So number one, your 20s are only going to happen one time. And I know we get sold this little dream of, oh, your 20s are just about being free and do whatever you want and blah, blah, blah. And to an extent they are, right? Like when you're in your 20s, you probably have less liability. You don't have a whole family. Most people probably don't have a family in their early 20s that they have to take care of. You don't have as many maybe financial responsibilities. You don't have as many things that are just kind of holding you down. So you can take more risks, right? So 20s is the time to take risks. And I really 100% believe in that. And from my perspective, did I take a lot of risk in my 20s? I would say that I kind of went more of the traditional route, right? Like I went to college, I got a college degree, I ended up leaving college, and then when I graduated, I went and got a master's degree, I got a corporate job, I did all these different things, and I did it right. And right by society standards, right? I didn't do it the right way, but I did it the way that society tells you to do it. Do I regret doing that? Not necessarily, right? Because it does have its benefits, right? Like I think going this traditional route definitely provided me like with an ABC 1, 2, 3 path to just getting a good job and being able to pay my bills and things like that. So I do think that there was some benefit in that, but I think in the economy that we're in now, in the world that we're moving into, because I graduated in 2018, right? It's 2025, so that was a while back. As we move forward, I think non-traditional pathways may definitely become like the more prominent way of making money, of starting a career, and things like that. Because I think the whole going to school, getting a degree, and then getting a job is just like I think a lot of people are realizing that doesn't work, and is not working the way it used to in the past, just because of the world that we live in, the way that things are changing. So I would say take risks. If you can. I wasn't somebody who took a whole lot of risk. I followed a traditional path, but and risk doesn't always have to be like this crazy thing, right? It doesn't have to be something where you're like you go to Hawaii for a year and you just you take a gap year or something like that. Like maybe that is what you do, but a risk could be like maybe you're really into photography and you want to start a photography business on the side. Try it. There's no harm in trying something and failing. you know. And I think another thing, you have to realize about your 20s too is I had a very grandiose idea of what I was going to be able to accomplish in my 20s, right? I think we see so much on social media nowadays where you see somebody who's 21 driving a Ferrari and you're like, oh, I should probably have $1 million by the time I'm like 23. Oh, I got to start a business and I got to be like, chilling in Turks and Caicos with the homies, when I'm 27, and realistically, that's not the case. What you see on social media is not real. And even if it is real, that's a very, very small percentage of people that are in their younger age, 20s, teens, whatever. That's a super, super small percentage. So you have to keep that in mind and don't get discouraged. I think you should give yourself a lot of grace. And that was one thing I didn't do. I think I was so focused on like, I have to be successful. I have to be successful. I have to be successful that I gave up a lot of my passions, even doing YouTube like this. I gave that up for a while just so I could focus on like, okay, I got to get my career in order and then I got to work on this degree and I got to get this certification. I got to do this and do that. And like I said, that did reward me with some level of, return in terms of getting a decent job and things like that. But at the same time, I think there were so many other things that I gave up kind of chasing this false sense of I have to be successful super quick. And realistically, man, it takes time. It takes time to build wealth. It takes time to be quote unquote successful, whatever that is for you, in whatever industry you want to be in. So don't be so hard on yourself if you reach 24, you reach 25, and you're not exactly where you want to be. As long as you're moving towards where you want to go, I think that's the biggest thing. And you're using your 20s as a launching pad, right? As a building block. Your 20s are super important too. Don't let people tell you that your 20s don't matter and you can just do whatever you want, because that's not true, right? Like, if you waste your 20s is like the foundation of your house. If you had a house, the 20s is the bottom of the house. It's the foundation for the rest of your life. It's not that you can't work on yourself in your 30s or your 40s or your 50s or 60s, but your 20s is like the foundation of your house, and the foundation of your house has to be strong. Otherwise, other things are going to just crumble, right? So build a strong foundation, whatever that is for you. If you take a traditional path, cool. If you take a more non-traditional path and you're just like, yo, I just want to, start my own business. I want to do this, I want to do that. Figure out where you fall and then just go in that direction. Go all in, I think one of the other things that I, kind of reflected on, like coming up on this birthday, turning 29, is, did I focus on the right things? And I know I just talked a lot about career, right? Career is a huge thing. Money's a huge thing. But one of the things that I realized towards the end of my 20s and that I've become much more aware of is how important relationships are, right? And I'm not just talking about romantic relationships. I'm talking about friendships. I'm talking about family. Like, pouring into those relationships in your life are going to be so much more important, because I think, especially if you're somebody like me, you take a more traditional path, right? You work a regular 9-to-5 job, corporate job, or a white collar job or blue collar job, right? More than likely, you're doing the same things every day. Life can become very monotonous, right? And it can become very lonely if you don't have people that you've built relationships with over time. And one of the most rewarding things for me is being able to do things with people I love and care about, right? So being able to go on a trip with friends and say, hey, look, guys, let's go to Puerto Rico in 2 months. And we save up some money. We all head out and get Airbnb and go to Puerto Rico and spend time together. And that's a memory that we're creating together. Memories are super, super important. Like, having memories with the people that you love, that is something super valuable. Your health is something that's super valuable. Go to the gym, take care of your body. Like, you start to realize the things that really, really matter, especially in your late 20s. You're not old. I'm not old. I'm not saying I'm old, but you start to realize your mortality a little bit more. Your body changes. You see people around you getting older. You see your parents getting older. It's just a lot of things that put more perspective on what matters in life, right? So I'm not saying the career and the money doesn't matter. It does, and that's still a component. But when it comes down to it, I think that relationships are far, far more important than what I think a lot of us think in our 20s. When you fall on hard times, and when you're going through different things, even if it's just like you're going through a breakup and you need somebody to talk to, going through a lot of the stuff that you go through as an adult sucks, especially if you're going through it by yourself. So those connections that you made in high school, the connections that you made in college, keep in touch with at least a few of those people, right? I'm not friends with everybody I used to talk to, but I kept connections with the people that I really, really cared about and really, really connected with, right? Even if you have 3 friends, that's enough. You got your little group chat, or you got, 2, 3 friends and you're cool with and they're local and you can hang out, and even friends you can just talk to on the phone. That's super important, because you're going to need that support system as an adult, just because it can get very, very lonely. So that's another thing. And then, like, from a romantic relationship perspective, I think one of the things that I did really wrong in my 20s is I was not as upfront about what I wanted. And I didn't really know what I wanted, right? To give you guys perspective, I got into my first relationship, first and only real relationship, right? Like, sustained relationship, when I was 21. I think I was 21. I was like a I was a senior in college, 21, and that relationship lasted until I was 25, maybe 25. Yeah, about 25. And then that's when we broke up. But I think the breakup was fueled by a lot of, like, me not knowing exactly what I wanted going into it. And granted, I was young, right? First relationship, that's to be expected. But I have so much more clarity now when I talk about things. I wasn't cool with expressing my emotions as a guy. You know, that was like a little machismo thing I had to get over. And I wasn't clear about like where I wanted to go, what I wanted to do within a relationship, right? I kind of got into it and was figuring all that out as we were working through things. And, you know, number one, don't beat yourself up. If your relationships in your 20s don't last, if you're with somebody and things kind of go sideways, number one, understand that you're growing a lot, you're learning a lot right now, and it's hard. It's often very hard to sustain a relationship through a lot of change. And number two, you're understanding more of what you'll need in the future, right? Now I can articulate myself much better. Now I can express my emotions much better. Now I can just be honest up front and say, hey, this is what I want, not be scared, right? When you're in your early 20s, a lot of times, or even your teens, you're worried about fitting in. You're worried about being liked. You're worried about like upsetting the other person. And while you still need to do all those things, be emotionally intelligent, so to speak, understand someone else's emotions, there's nothing wrong with being honest about what you want and where you want to go and what you want to do, right? Because that's going to help both of you. If you're honest about what you want, they're honest about what they want, you guys can come in and build a strong foundation to that relationship instead of putting on this facade and acting like somebody you're not, or doing things that are not sustainable, or allowing things and not setting boundaries. That was one thing that I didn't do but I learned later on. And yeah, man. So I would say those are like just things that came top of mind for me when I'm looking back at my 20s now. And I'm enjoying the last year, my 20s. I thank God for 29 years of life. It's a blessing. And I'm really just looking to continue to grow. And I want to keep doing stuff like this, right? Like I said, one of the things that I kind of gave up was the things that gave me purpose and meaning. And as much as my career, like it is providing me with a foundation financially, the things that really provide me with fulfillment, where I feel happy, I feel accomplished, I feel like I have a purpose, is when I make videos and stuff like this. Because I feel like even if it resonates with one person, even if one of you watches this video and you're like, yeah, I can relate to what you're saying, you take something from it, that makes me feel amazing. And I want to do more of that, and I want to continue to have more of that in my life. So I know, like I said, it's been 2 months since I uploaded my last video, and I don't know what my computer's doing over here, but 2 months since I uploaded my last video, and I just wanted to make this video today. So super random, not really planned, off the cuff. Hopefully it wasn't all over the place, but we'll get better with time. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm not going to worry so much. That's the last thing I'll say too. Don't worry so much, man. At the end of the day, do your best. Try to have a plan. Understand you're going to fail, but don't worry so much. Don't be so hard on yourself, right? So even with videos and stuff like this, I used to be like, yeah, I have to have like a script and it has to be perfect and blah, blah, blah. But at this point, I'm freestyling all my videos, man. You might get some vlogs. You might get this and get that. I'm going to upload when, I'm happy. No, I shouldn't say when I'm happy. When I feel like it, right? I'm not going to force myself to upload. I used to be uploading trash before, but we're not going to do that anymore, all right? We're in a whole new era. We're on a different vibe, different wavelength. So thank you for watching the video. That was my rambling reflections on my 29th year of life. As I said, I'm very blessed and very happy to have had the opportunity to experience all of my 20s. For the people in my life, all those different things. So if you're 29 or above, please let me know what your experience was like turning 29 or turning 30, actually, because that's next up, man. I'm like, oh my gosh, the 30s, dude. I'm like, man, I don't know. But anyways, I digress. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch y'all in the next video. We'll chat. Maybe I'll do a live stream or something soon. Who knows? Life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. All right. Peace.